AK, ready to go. Alright, so I'll be right around the corner.
So I can start?
Yep, you're good
Okay.
to go.
So hello everyone, Edward Ramirez here. I'm going to talk to you today about oxyacetylene welding. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about how to set up the torch, how to light the torch. We're going to talk about the pressures. We're going to talk about the tanks themselves. So the green one here is your oxygen tank. This is the valve that opens the oxygen tank. When you walk up to this, you open up this valve, and you notice I'm opening up the valve all the way. So I've got the valve open all the way. Notice that this tank is reading right at about 2200 psi. We just had this tank refilled, and that's about where the tank should be, at 2200 psi. This gauge here is reading the pressure in the tank. Now this gauge here reads the pressure, your working pressure in the line hose. Okay, so this is your regulator. Right now it's backed off. I'm going to turn the regulator, and you can see we're at about 20 psi. Okay, right at about in here. And the next thing I'm going to show you is the acetylene tank. This is the oxygen, it's green. The acetylene tank, it can be yellow, it can be red. In this case it's black, but it's got a label on it that says flammable. It is the acetylene. Now notice that I've got the acetylene backed off, the regulator. Now when you open up the acetylene tank, you just crack it to a quarter of a turn, to a half a turn. If you go on the internet, you see some videos. A lot of people describe open it up all the way, but I normally just tell the students, crack it quarter to a half a turn, just in case of an emergency. You can always rush back and shut it off real quick. It's not going to take you several turns. So you'll notice that this gauge is reading 200 psi. That's about the pressure for the tank. That's the full tank. Okay. This gauge here is the pressure for the actual tank. And then we move on to the acetylene, the working pressure. Okay. This hose is red. The oxygen hose is green. Okay. You turn the regulator, where you can see the gauge. And you don't even want to put your face right up in front of the gauges. Notice that it's going up, looks like it's at 4. You've got 6, 7, 8. 7 to 8 psi is really all you need. Okay? On the regulator. Now what's set up here now is for the torch. Okay? Now on this torch, you've got the green hose for the oxygen, the red hose for the acetylene. Right now both these valves are closed and this valve is closed. Notice that you've got the cutting tip on there. You want to make sure that cutting tip is on there secured. Make sure that it's tight. Just double checking. And another thing you want to make sure. Now this tank was brand new. I just put it on this morning. This is regular right-hand thread for the oxygen. But the acetylene, it's actually a left-hand thread. So the acetylene is left-hand thread, red hose, 7 to 8 psi. Oxygen is set here at about 20 psi. If you're going to cut thicker material, you can go a little bit higher on the pressure of the oxygen, depending on the thickness of the material. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the oxygen valve, the green one, all the way. Okay? And I'm going to regulate it with this valve here. Okay? So, I'm just going to test this acetylene. I'm going to open the valve. Okay? and then I'm going to light the torch, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the different flames that we have. So I'll open this acetylene, put my goggles on. That's where your eye protection. So you bring that back to where you just have the slight soup, just a little bit of soup. Then you open this oxygen valve, and you're trying to bring this back to where you have a neutral flame. That is your neutral flame there. Okay? You hear that tip is a little dirty, but that's what the neutral flame looks like. You can adjust it a little bit. But that's what you're shooting for. When you go to shut this off, shut the gas. Shut off the acetylene. And then you shut off the oxygen. Now each student's going to get an opportunity to light the torch. Okay? So once again, light it. Open the acetylene. Bring it back so you get that little bit of soup. You're working to get that neutral flame, and that's what you want. Now, after you go to shut down your oxygen acetylene tank, you want to close the valves, and then you want to bleed the lines. You want to leave your regulators alone right now. Notice the oxygen's dropping, okay? So we purged the oxygen line. Then we close the valve. We close this valve. Closing the oxygen valve. Now we move on to the acetylene. Watch the gauges drop. It drops to 0. Close the valve. Open this up. Back them off. You always want to back off your regulators. And that's where we're at. Okay? Green for the oxygen. Green hose. The regulator has 2 gauges on it. One for the tank. One for the working pressure of the hose. Acetylene. The oxygen is 2,200 pounds full. Okay? The acetylene, you only open it up a quarter of a turn, and right now, if I was to open it, it's going to read about 200 psi, a little over 200 psi. So I'm going to light the torch again. I'm going to go through the same procedure, the same steps, just in lighting the torch. It's all the practice. So what I say we were going to do, open up the oxygen all the way. Set the regulator at about 20 psi. You never want to put your face right up against the regulators. So we're good there. How much did I say for the acetylene? Just crack it open, quarter to a half of a turn. Okay? Then you set your working pressure, 7 to 8 psi. That's 6, There you go, 7 to 8 psi. When you're using the cutting torch, I like to open the oxygen valve all the way, and you're going to control this up here. Okay? So we're ready to start to light the torch. Okay. So you turn on the acetylene, the red one. You got that little bit of soup going. You open up your oxygen valve. There you go. You've got the neutral flame. Everything is back to the cone. Shut it off. You're going to purge the hoses, right? You close it. Close the tank. Bleed the hoses. The acetylene goes all the way down. Bled. Bleed the oxygen. It's gone down to 0. Close all your valves. And back off your regulators. Okay, that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to show my students, just how to light the torch. I need to clean the tips on the torch tips, because you can see it gives that little bit of when you're squeezing the trigger, adding oxygen to it. It just indicates that it's got a dirty tip. So, I hope you learned something, and you'll each get an opportunity to practice lighting the torch. Thank you.
Okay, Marlo. Done. Just taking it long. Alright. That was easy.
Yeah.
Make sure I close it, right?